Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 2, Infected. I remember reading an article where the producers of The Walking Dead said that this season you were going to see the walkers have a much greater impact, much more of a presence on the show. And you know what? They were not dicking around. Within the first 2 episodes, we've had 3 pretty big walker scenes. The huge one with the shopping center in the first episode, and now in this episode we had 2 big ones inside the prison and outside, making for some really fun, tense, action-oriented stuff. I like it. When this episode started out, we actually got a really nice classic horror movie style scene in the opening there with Karen. She's walking through the dark hallways of the prison, and her flashlight is going out off and on. And then, she hears a strange noise off in the corner, so she's going to go check it out by herself. It's the classic stuff you'd see in just about every horror movie, and it worked on this show. It really amped up the tension, and I liked it. So then we had our first big walker scene where we had a bunch of random extras just get destroyed by the walkers. And then you had Zombie Patrick kill that one guy in his sleep. And conveniently, very conveniently, he went right for the throat so that the guy couldn't scream or make any kind of noise. A very stealthy walker kill right there. And then I thought it was hilarious that morning came, hours had passed, and Zombie Patrick was still in that one prison cell munching on that one guy after all that time had passed. And then he's like, now I'm going to get up and head out. I thought that was funny. And then that guy, man, Patrick ate half his guts. So then he stands up and the other half just kind of falls out all over the place in this goopy, gory mess. It was good stuff. And the second big scene was the one outside the prison where we were trying to keep the fence from crashing down from the overloading of the walkers. And they saw that, hey, somebody's been feeding these things. Possibly the worst idea ever. So I really liked this scene as well. But I have to say that, to me, some of the CGI for the kills, the headshots for the walkers outside the prison, a little dodgy, a little iffy, but otherwise good stuff. We had a quick scene there with Glenn and Maggie together, and he takes his picture while she's sleeping, and that means a couple of things. It could mean one of a couple of things to me. Either he's going to use that picture as some sort of strength to overcome something later on in the season, or it's going to be used against him somehow. The governor's still out there. Maybe he'll get a hold of that picture and see that, hey, that chick he made strip down and fake rape, well, she's still out there. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. So Michonne actually gets into a pretty close call outside the prison. And that leads to her, she twists her ankle, which leads her to this scene between her and Rick's baby daughter. And she doesn't want to be anywhere near this kid. But then there's a point where she has to hold the baby. And, she just kind of breaks down sobbing. And, what looked like from her facial expression, this sort of happy but yet very, very sad expression. It was a very touching scene. And at this point, I'm really interested to see what Michonne's backstory is. And I'm hoping that they get to it soon. I'm pretty sure that they're going to. How's about Carol? Carol had some interesting stuff to do in this episode. One of the random extras, he gets killed, or he gets bitten. And then he asks Carol to look after her 2 daughters. And I have to say, Carol gives this guy probably one of the nicest, more merciful head stabs that I've seen on this show. But of course, that's only after one of his daughters, Lizzie, I believe her name was. She tries and she fails at doing it. She didn't have the nerve to kill her own father. So then later on, you had Maggie talking to Lizzie, and she says, I care about you, so I'm going to be straight with you. You're weak, and you got to step up when the pressure's on and do what you have to do or you're not going to survive. I liked that. It made sense. The whole arming the kids and showing them how to defend themselves that Carol's doing, that makes sense. And I really like Carol as a character nowadays. Most of the female characters on the show up until this season have really sucked. And I didn't like Carol in the early parts of the show. Definitely not. She got on my nerves. But now, as the character has evolved, everything she's been through, she's tough. She knows what needs to be done. She doesn't hesitate. And, she's trying to make the children in the group better at defending themselves. I have to assume because of what happened to her own child and how defenseless she was. And she's not going to let that happen again. But even though I do like Carol and I do like her ideas, I gotta say that letting that Lizzie girl who names walkers and then she gets more upset about the fact that a walker has died over her own father dying and is probably, but maybe not, the one feeding the walkers outside the gate. I gotta say, giving this girl the knife to keep on her at all times, not a good idea. Come on, Carol. Then we got to see Rick load up and give Carl his gun back. Rick had stepped away from the leadership role. He didn't want his son losing himself to all the violence, basically. He tried to shelter him within his farm life, but obviously with the disease and the walkers getting more intense, that's not going to happen. So he's got to step up and lead the group once again, or at least become a part of the decision-making process. The group, there are a couple of scenes in this episode where they were trying to figure out what the disease is, where it came from, how they got it, and how to figure out who's infected and who's not, and trying to separate the two groups. And they have no idea how they're going to try to combat this disease. They're trying to figure all this out. And then Tyrese's girlfriend, poor Karen, man, and one random miscellaneous person whose name I don't even remember. Well, they both got torched at the end of the episode, so that sucks for them. First, who did it? I'm pretty sure it was Herschel. That's just my guess. Second, this is going to amp up the tension between the group. Obviously, a lot of that coming from Tyrese. He's going to be pissed. So he's going to be wanting some payback. I'm interested to see how that's going to play out, but I'm actually more interested to see how they're going to handle the whole who's infected and who's not scenario. Like, are the ones that are not infected, are they going to be, become more distant and more fearful of the ones that are infected and try to, maybe do things to them or try to keep away from them, to the point where it gets violent? I think you could see some really entertaining scenarios come out of this. They have a lot of potential to do a couple of different things here. All right, favorite scene of the episode was actually the opening. I thought it was, very classic horror movie stuff. I really enjoyed it, and, it was just fun to watch. And as far as a least favorite, I didn't really have a least favorite scene in this episode. The scene between Carl and Carol where she's trying to convince him not to say anything to his dad, that was just kind of a little boring. Other than that, this episode was pretty much all good stuff. Overall, I'm going to go ahead and give this episode a B+. It definitely was better than the premiere, in my opinion, and I think they're moving in the right direction, and like I said, I'm very curious to see what they do with this new disease storyline. All right, JB Squared, 61279 with a Walking Dead review, and I'll see you guys next time.